So I guess I had kind of a spontaneity in the idea of me creating this video. So some of the things I'm going to be covering are typically going to be things about our society and how relationships intertwine with one another, depending on the culture of each given type of community. Not so much on the fact that people, they have this dilemma every single time that they have a disagreement publicly. And this is more so in the context of it being political. So the political stance of most people there, that's usually the upbringing of a certain kind of a subject. And this subject of between people, it creates this dynamic of discourse. And my goal is to typically just kind of not so much devalue all of it, but I'm noticing that between differing groups of people, they create this hostile environment, not just on one side, but on both sides. Both sides are very hostile and very defensive. I mean, and of course it's appropriate to defend your political beliefs, or let alone any belief at all. It's your right as a human being to defend your cognitive thought process on things and your subjective perception. So, in light of all of that, I think on a general term, people, they tend to, in spite of knowing that we all coincide in such a society of, American Western civilization, excuse me. But, so one of the problems with us, hence really, is we don't, there's this idea of people being open towards each other, that people can't express their opinions or thought process on things because they're either going to offend someone or they're going to anger somebody. And this isn't just typical on the right. This is also typical on the left. When, say for example, something like abortion. I'm not going to state my opinions on abortion because that's not the point of this discussion. Well, maybe not abortion. Abortion is a lot more acute. So let's just discuss men and women. Not so much just feminism, but just men and women in their relationship together. There's a position that holds this. I mean, I don't even feel like it's appropriate for me. Well, not inappropriate, but I don't think it's necessary to exemplify the situation between us of how other people think. And what this does, ultimately, what this relationship between men and women, it becomes this dichotomy of people throwing around hatred. And I'm not talking about speaking hate. I'm not saying that people say things of hatred that express hatred, but I'm saying attitudes of hatred, if that's more accurate. Not so much necessarily that people think what people's opinions are hateful. Like that's a definite category of thinking that people have, is people's opinions are full of hatred, like racism, sexism, etc. But the problem with this is, I think we've forgotten that there is something sovereign about an individual, of how someone conducts himself in society. And when you see videos on the internet of people raving and ranting about their political beliefs and then getting angry and then unnecessarily reprehensible in their thought process, that's the issue. The issue isn't the political beliefs, the issue isn't the thought process itself. It's the activity of advocacy that's, I don't want to say negative, but that's where the hate comes from. I'm not saying that one side does it more than the other. I think both sides are equal, or they have an equilibrium of hate. I'm not just speaking about the alt-right or the radical left. I'm talking about like both sides in general. There is a definite there's a definite degree of, I don't want to say despondency, because it's very sad, but despondency isn't the right word, but of hateful discourse. The problem with that is when such a conversation, it loses its civility. And the problem with losing the civility is that it brings up radical groups like the KKK, and then it brings up the radical groups like Antifa, and then it'll bring out some other group that'll counter that, and there's always like this duality between people. Give me 1 second. I know this is awkward. I gotta check this in. Okay, so video's still rolling, which is fine, which is a good thing. So I did write something last night in light of my thought process of this. Obviously it's a little corny, but you know, I thought it was necessary because I journal a lot, and journaling can be very mentally accurate, I guess to say the word was, because if you're just speaking out your words, then you're not, unless you're very extroverted and you think in the light of how you're feeling and what you're thinking in the moment, because introverted thinking is of thinking in the light that things are coming in from inside you, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm gonna get to this, so I hope whoever sees this video finds some sort of, I don't want to say enlightenment because I don't want to sound pretentious, but I guess it's accurate enough.